Severe and widespread flooding is sweeping across parts of Southeast and South Asia, disrupting the lives of millions from Indonesia and Malaysia to Sri Lanka and Vietnam. Entire communities have been displaced, critical infrastructure has been damaged, and humanitarian needs are rising sharply as the region grapples with days of relentless rain and devastating impact of cyclone Ditwa in Sri Lanka. The International Federation of the Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies has moved quickly to scale up emergency support, providing evacuations, first aid, clean water, temporary shelter, and essential relief supplies. With us from Kuala Lumpur is Ho, who's the acting Deputy Regional Director of the IFRC's Asia Pacific Regional Office, to help us understand the situation on the ground and the scale of the response and what more is needed. Alice, thank you very much indeed for joining us, and welcome to the program.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
Alice, perhaps you can start by giving us a clearer picture of the flooding across Southeast and South Asia and the scale of the impact on communities that you're seeing.
Of course. So as you rightly mentioned earlier, that most part of Thailand, Vietnam, Indonesia, Malaysia, as well as Sri Lanka is heavily affected. So prolonged rainfall, which has triggered flooding and landslide, is affecting more than millions of people, and still millions of people are still displaced. Some of the community are still being cut off. It's not only because this water is not receding yet, but also the infrastructure disrupted, road is cut off. Most of the communities are still struggling with very basic needs. What we are worrying right now is some of the weather forecasts indicated that there might be highly possibility more rainfall and thunderstorm in the coming days and weeks. So the further, the situation will definitely be further deteriorating.
Which countries or regions are currently facing the most severe conditions, and what distinguishes this year's flooding from previous seasons?
So right now, the International Federation of Red Cross Red Crescent Societies, we are prioritizing in Sri Lanka because in Sri Lanka, they are facing the worst flooding in decades. Millions of people are affected. Still thousands of people are still missing. And the Sri Lanka government, as well as the Red Cross in Sri Lanka, are requesting for international support. So that's why we are prioritizing Sri Lanka at this point of time. Having said that, our team on the ground in Vietnam, Malaysia, Thailand, in Indonesia, they are also activating to provide the response. What we currently see and witnessing is the prolonged rainfall and flooding. It's really setting a new normal. So for some area that we should not, or we did not see the usual flooding in the past, it actually flooded. So some area is actually hit twice as well. So this is the, very concern for us because this situation is very much unpredictable.
I suppose access to helping these people is making it really difficult.
Indeed. So one of our biggest challenges is still logistic. And in some remote area, they are still being isolated. As what I mentioned, somewhat is not receding yet, is still underwater. And some of the infrastructure disrupted, the road and bridges are either totally damaged or partially inaccessible. So we might not be able to reach those isolated communities, but we are trying everything we can to mobilizing our volunteer in the community and on the ground, trying to reach them and provide immediate needs.
So Sri Lanka worst hit. Are you concerned about Indonesia, Malaysia, Vietnam, about further rainfall and perhaps secondary hazards?
Yes, we are concerning. So as I mentioned, weather forecast in some of the countries and area is really indicated further rainfall. And especially for some areas still being isolated, we are still conducting the immediate need assessment to really trying to find out the condition out there. So gratefully, we have our Red Cross volunteers on the ground. Hopefully, they will be able to reach the last mile and then giving us the most updated information so that we can react at once.
What are the most urgent needs right now, perhaps in terms of, I don't know, shelter, clean water, health services even?
So the most pressing need right now definitely is food, safe drinking water, emergency shelter with these materials, and medical care. We know that some of the medical facilities, such as hospitals, are damaged. So there's lack of medical care to the affected people. So one of the other thing that we're really focusing on is to prevent disease outbreak because the flooding is in that scale can easily contaminate the water. So we're also prioritizing to prevent waterborne diseases at this moment.
I guess, I mean, these events are seasonal. We see this every year, perhaps because of climate change. They're getting a little bit more severe. Are these countries preparing themselves better, or are they just not able to keep up with the severity of these seasonal rains?
So the IFRC, together with our Red Cross Red Crescent Society, have already started a series of disaster preparedness and climate change adaptation activities on the ground. So some of the communities actually we have improved early warning system and some mitigations measure and adaptation activities such as teaching people how to evacuate and teaching some of our volunteers how to respond and the first aid. So some of the situation is actually getting better in terms of response and saving lives. But indeed, these scales of disaster it's unpredictable. Is heavier than what we predicted. So the local resources, especially Sri Lanka, is overwhelmed. So that's why they will require international assistance and support at this point of time.
Yeah, I can imagine that this is a very difficult situation. And is there any way that the listeners, international community can assist?
Thank you so much for asking this. We are grateful that we have already received some international donor commitment and willingness to support our operations. Whatever is financially support or technical support is very much appreciated because solidarity is very much needed. As an individual, if you're in the affected countries or in other countries, sending some cheering thoughts message or warm message to those affected, especially to our responders, first responder, and Red Cross volunteers, is also very encouraging because our Red Cross volunteers of staff are working around the clock tirelessly to support those affected family. So this would be very helpful. When the relief is over, there is a long journey for early recovery. So we definitely need more sustained unrestricted funding to support the community to build back better, to rebuild their house, to restore their livelihood, to go back to the school for the kids, and to restore the medical facilities. On top of that, investing on disaster preparedness and readiness are also equally critical so that the community can increase their resilience in responding to the next disaster. And we really count on your support.
Alice, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you very much indeed for joining us and the work that you're doing. And we wish you strength and the best in helping the people in those affected countries.
Thank you.
That was Alice Ho, Acting Deputy Regional Director of the IFRC, Asia Pacific Regional Office, joining us from Kuala Lumpur as severe weather, rains affecting several countries in the region. And according to the IFRC, the floods have affected millions of people in the region, and it could be well over 3.3 million people. And as she says there, a lot of assistance is required. My name is Peter Ndoro, and coming up, we still have so much on the program.
My name is Asanda Peta. If you've just joined us, we now enter the third hour of the show. Let's get